So the other day I was just gazing at my aquariums like I always do, and something just felt a bit off. The shrimp tank that I had made a couple weeks ago for some reason just wasn't really sitting right with me.
I'm not gonna lie, this kind of sucks.
Okay, don't get me wrong, it's definitely not the worst thing in the world. I might be a little bit dramatic, but I think we can just do a lot better than this. The reason why I don't really like it is if you look at the hardscape and the light placement, because the light is behind the hardscape and because we're using a darker rock, we're using lava rock, there is kind of just this big silhouette sort of look to it. And I feel like the lava rock as it stands in relation to the light placement is not contributing to this aquarium at all. We have a darker stone with lots of pores in it, and it's just absorbing light instead of reflecting it and contributing to the dynamic of the aquarium. Now, lava rock, don't get me wrong, I think is incredible, but for this particular tank and the light placement that we're using, it's not quite working out. All right, let's waste no time. Let's get the shrimp out of here. I actually have a breeding tank, so I can just put them in there. No big deal. And yeah, let's get it cleared out and let's start playing around with it, see what works. Okay, so I've cleared out some of the plants here, and as you look top down here, as you can see, the way that this lava rock is inclined, it's kind of sloped, and it's just taking up so much space back there. You know, there's a lot of space back there that wasn't being used, and that just made this look smaller than it actually was. So I think that was my biggest downfall with the last build, was just not utilizing the space. You live and learn. I didn't really ever think to look top down when I was building it, but now that I'm like looking at it like this, I'm like, yeah, it's so much wasted space back there, you know? All right, we have this all cleared out, and as you can see, we have loads of shrimp in here. Look at them, they're so cute. I have lots of juveniles and baby shrimp in here because I believe that one of the shrimp that I put in here originally when I built this was actually pregnant, and yeah, she gave birth to a lot of shrimp because I had only put like 3 in here actually, and now we have like about 12 in here. There's a bunch under the leaves, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and keep them in this container. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some water lettuce, and yeah, I'll just plop it in here so they have stuff to hide under. All cleaned up and ready to go. It's cleaned up enough at least. I don't really care about all this. It's just gonna get covered up anyway, and I'll scrape the glass when I go to finish everything, so I'm not too worried about it. It's good enough. So for the nutrient layer, we're gonna go ahead and use UNS conscious soil. I pretty much always use this stuff. For this build, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the back, and yeah, I'll leave the front clear of it because I'll just be putting sand. But yeah, let's go ahead and put this in there. I'll probably use all of it. Alright, this is honestly looking super sick. I'm really happy with the way it's looking. It's super minimalistic. We have one piece of dragonstone just kind of resting on another piece. And yeah, it's super simple. And you know, I think in a tank like this, you know, this is a 2-gallon cube. I think less is more. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, that's awesome. It's a statement. I love it. I think the downfall of the last tank that I had, or the last build that I had in this cube, was there was just simply too much going on. And it was just, I didn't really like it. It was just overwhelming. This is looking a lot more promising, and I'm not just saying that this time. This is definitely a lot better. So the next thing we're going to do is, part of my plan is I really want to have plants only in the corner. So I'm going to have dwarf hairgrass around the hardscape, but then I also want hydrocotyl like in the back, kind of coming out, if you know what I'm saying. So since we're only going to have plants in the corner, I have no need to have aqua soil this far out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the aqua soil and kind of just push it up and slope it towards the back corner because we don't need nutrients this far out. And I will be covering it up with sand, and just in case I will be putting some root tabs, you know, in the foreground. But yeah, let's go ahead and slope up that aqua swirl. We have the sand in there, everything is sloped up. We also added some accent stones here. I'm not sure if we're going to keep these here. I'll make a final decision once I plant the tank, and we'll see how it behaves in conjunction with all the plants. But yeah, overall, I'm really liking the way it's looking. I think it's pretty sweet. Yeah, let's get to planting, I guess. Here we have the dwarf hairgrass from the last setup. This dwarf hairgrass is accustomed to submersed growth, so when we put it in here, it won't be melting this time around, so that's awesome. So, you know, once we put it in there, it'll just start growing right away, and it'll just be accustomed. So, yeah, we're gonna plant this around the upper dragonstone here. We got the dwarf hairgrass all planted. We got it all sprayed. I think it's looking really cool. I will definitely be trimming this when I flood this tank because it did grow really tall. And yeah, that's how dwarf hairgrass grows when you're not using CO2. I find in low-tech setups, especially when you're using root tabs and a nutrition layer like aquasoil, dwarf hairgrass just grows really tall instead of carpeting. It still does carpet. It still does send out runners, but obviously it's not going to carpet like it would with a CO2 setup. But yeah, all that being said, dwarf hairgrass does grow in low-tech setups. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you're not using CO2, it's not going to grow. That is simply not true. It does grow, just in a different way. And that goes the same for any plant in the hobby. And by the way, I am using flourish root tabs again. A lot of people like to ask, what is the best root tab to use? Honestly, I've had like the same amount of growth with every single one. I just use flourish because that's what my local aquarium store carries, but Aquarium Co-op Easy Green tabs are also really good. Like, they all contain iron and magnesium, pretty much the same ingredients. So yeah, just use what you have available, honestly. So here is my shrimp breeding tank. They're going crazy in here. We have a ton of shrimp. Obviously it works very well, but in here we have some hydrocotyle Tripetita Japan, and we're going to be using this in the other shrimp tanks. So let's go ahead and get it out. Look how red this shrimp is. Oh man, it looks like a lobster. Like, it's a straight up lobster, like a miniature lobster. He's so beautiful. And then, yeah, look, check this one out. This is a female, and she appears to be buried, or in other words, pregnant. So that's awesome. Anyway, yeah, this tank has been running really well as like a breeder tank, so I've just been leaving it running. And yeah, I just kind of pull from it. I kind of use it as like my propagation slash planting tank. But anyway, we have some hydrocotyle Tripetita Japan, and we are going to be using this, so let's get it out. Get off. Come on. Sorry. Come on. Yeah, as you can see, she is pregnant. Oh, there she goes. Alright, it is currently now the next day. A lot of the dust has settled, and you might have noticed it looks slightly different, and that is because I rotated it 90 degrees. This is the original side that we were working on, and this is the side after rotating. And yeah, I was just kind of playing around with both sides because this will be on the end of a desk. My monitor will be right here, but these two sides, I want them both to be presentable, so that was why I was kind of looking around and just seeing what we were working with. But so what we're going to do now is I have some Rotala rotundifolia that I cut from another aquarium, and yeah, we're going to put it in here, and hopefully, since this aquarium is going to have a lot more direct light than the aquarium that this plant came from, hopefully this will start to turn more red. As you can see here, the Rotala in here is just completely covered by the Valsinaria. It's getting no light whatsoever, so it's just staying green. But yeah, if you have Rotala in high lighting with no nitrates and lots of iron, it will start to turn red. All right, we got the rotala planted, and I think it's going to grow in really nicely. I hope it does. Um, and I think in this setup, where we have this light and not a whole lot of shade, it will turn red, assuming that we're able to starve it of nitrates and provide it with lots of iron. So yeah, I have pretty high hopes, and I think it'll look really good. So what's next is we have some pebbles here. I wanted to go ahead and just sprinkle a bunch of pebbles in here. It is looking a little bit too sterile, so I kind of want to just add a little bit of detail. And honestly, I think after that we'll be pretty close to being done.